Coming up on Jerusalem Dateline, a war of nerves as Iran and Hezbollah continue the drumbeat of threats. Plus, a kids' summer camp, complete with bomb shelter. Chuck Holton reports on his trip to Jish, 2 kilometers from the Lebanese border. And straight talk from political analyst Aryeh Lightstone. And armies of prayer warriors continue to gather to pray for Israel. All this and more coming up on this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Hello and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Chris Mitchell. It's a time of wars and rumors of wars as Iran continues making threats and Hezbollah shoots missiles into northern Israel daily. But the Israeli military is making it very clear they can strike back with very quick attacks and go on the offensive when necessary. As Israel prepares for an attack from Iran, Hezbollah drones and rockets injured 19 people and ignited fires across northern Israel earlier this week. Some experts believe Hezbollah may lead the attack on Israel with backing from Iran. On Wednesday, Israel's government released figures on the war with Hezbollah since October 9th. Hezbollah fired more than 7,500 rockets toward Israel, launched over 180 drones. 62 civilians and soldiers have been killed. More than 62,000 have been displaced from their homes, and 98 villages, cities, and towns in the north have been evacuated. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant warned Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah against escalating the war.
From the looks of things, Nasrallah may drag Lebanon to pay heavy prices. They don't imagine what could happen. I guess if they take a look at Gaza, they will understand. But reason doesn't always prevail.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told IDF recruits the nation is ready for whatever action Iran and its proxies might take against them.
I know that the citizens of Israel are on alert, and I ask you one thing, to keep your patience and calm. We're prepared for both defense and offense. We strike at our enemies and are also determined to defend ourselves.
I think the nation has grown in confidence as they've fended off even Iranian attacks with the hand of God behind them. So it's looking better, but the Hezbollah threat, the Iranian threat that we're under right now, has everyone's attention.
Meanwhile, the election of Yahya Sinwar as the new head of Hamas is seen by Israel as a strengthening the relationship between Iran and the Palestinians. While Hamas officials in Lebanon praised his election to head the terror group, Israel's Foreign Minister Israel Katz posted this message on X. The election of Yahya Sinwar as the leader of Hamas must send a clear message to the world that the Palestinian issue is now completely controlled by Iran and Hamas. Without Israeli action in Gaza, the area would fall entirely under Hamas control. The world must see reality as it is and support Israel, which currently stands at the forefront of the battle against the Iranian and extremist Islamist axis. Sinwar masterminded the October 7th massacre of 1,200 Israelis and the kidnapping of more than 250. Meanwhile, a new report from the U.S. Director of National Intelligence says Iran has undertaken activities that better position it to produce a nuclear device, if it chooses to do so. It added, Tehran has the infrastructure and experience to quickly produce weapons-grade uranium at multiple facilities. Well, Israel's Security Cabinet met Thursday night to discuss the ongoing threat from Iran and Hezbollah. The terror group is warning of destruction if Israel attacks. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant delivered a rare warning Thursday directly to the Lebanese people in Arabic. On X, Gallant wrote, "The state of Israel seeks peace, prosperity, and stability on both sides of the northern border. Therefore, we will not allow the Hezbollah militia to destabilize the border and the region. If Hezbollah continues its aggression, Israel will fight it with all its might." He reminded the Lebanese how the Second Lebanon War in 2006 was a disaster and quoted an Arabic saying, "He who plays with fire may expect destruction." Yigal Karmon, the founder of the Middle East Media Research Institute, tells CBN News Hezbollah may not want to pay the price of a full-scale war.
They want also only attrition, but Israel told them, no attrition. We go full force against Lebanon. not only you, against Lebanon. This is pretty high price to pay.
Actual combat may not have begun, but Gallant says Iran and Hezbollah are already waging psychological warfare on the Israeli public.
There's a psychological attempt by the enemy to sow fear, to tell stories, to intimidate.
The New York Times reporting that Hezbollah will likely strike first in a separate attack before Iran conducts its own retaliation, as the U.S. warns Iran not to attack.
It's been the focus of our diplomatic engagements is we continue to make clear to Iran that they should not escalate this conflict.
Carmon says Israel is projecting a different message to its enemies than a few months ago.
Israel behaved unlike before. It said clearly, if you attack us, we go against you full force, no matter what, no matter the position of the American administration. This scares them a lot.
And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu apologized for the Hamas sneak attacks on October 7th in an interview with Time magazine, saying, "You always look back and say, could we have done things that would have prevented it?" He added that a commission of inquiry into how October 7th happened should wait until the war is over. Coming up, Chuck Holton on his recent trip to Jish, 2 kilometers from the northern border.
Stay connected with CBN News all day across our platforms.
Hezbollah and Iran have warned of a massive aerial barrage on Israel in the coming days. Our correspondent Chuck Holton visited northern Israel to see how communities are coping with this threat and found resilience in unexpected places.
Residents who chose to stay here in the north remain on high alert. Still, life continues with surprising courage in Jish, a Maronite Christian community just 2 miles from the Lebanon border. Despite this area being considered a war zone by many, St. Maroon's Maronite Church is holding its annual summer kids camp, albeit with a few modifications.
Instead of 10 days of summer camp as usual, now we just period the summer camp to 2 groups of 5 days and another 5 days. For 2 groups, 100 kids each. So it's according to the laws of the Israeli government because of the war. We can't do the activities outside, or we are just indoors.
The Israeli government has put limits on the number of children that can be in one place at one time since the war started back in October, and especially now since that terrible tragedy that took place where a Hezbollah rocket dropped into a soccer field and killed 12 children in the Druze village of Majd el-Shams. That's actually only a couple miles from here. So the parents that are sending their kids to this camp want to know that the leadership is taking a few extra precautions to keep their kids safe. Despite these challenges, the camp maintains its spirit of openness and fun.
Well, one, they learn more and more about Jesus. Second, they learn how to respect each other irrespective of gender, religion, because we do have non-Christians with us. We have Muslims among us. Everyone is welcome.
The Maronites' deep connection to their land and history keeps them rooted, even in danger. The camp counselors have the job of passing on that sense of peace and courage.
Now we're going to show you the shelter. We have more than one shelter, but this is the open one for now. So from here, this is the shelter where we will put the children in case something bad or an emergency happens.
Many of the leaders are still teenagers, but they take their responsibilities seriously.
Our job is to keep them calm and not panic, because if they panic, it will be a lot harder to try and help them and go to the safe place.
Yet the constant threat is a weight these kids shouldn't have to carry.
We're so tired from this war. Running after alarm and alarm, go to the safe room, it's ridiculous. We don't deserve that. We are good citizens. We need to live peacefully. We need our summer camp back. We need our Christmas back. We need our Easter back. We need our kids back to the Sunday school, you know.
From Northern Israel, I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.
Well, not a lot of vacation Bible schools do have a bomb shelter there. Well, we spoke to Chuck Holton yesterday during our YouTube live broadcast as he was filming that summer camp story. And here's an excerpt from our conversation with his follow-up of more of what he saw up north. Chuck, great to be with you. Where are you and what's going on up there?
I'm in the town of Jish at the St. Maroon Maronite Christian Church here. And you can see these kids climbing around in the tree back behind me. They just finished up a 5-day-long summer camp for the kids. This is a summer camp that they've been having for more than 25 years. And this year, obviously, things are a little bit different. And so when normally this would go on for 10 days, now it goes on for 5 days only. And they would have had 300 or 400 kids. They would have had 300 or 400 kids. Now, this time they had less than 100, but they are committed to continuing these camps for these kids. And, you know, it's really amazing to sit in there and watch these kids having such a good time, even only 2 miles from the border with Lebanon. And they're under the threat. If you look right over here behind me, there is that white building over there is a bomb shelter that'll shelter more than 200 people. And they have to, you know, it's a kind of little different summer camp than the one I grew up going to. That's for sure. Because, you know, we didn't ever have to do drills where we had to run out and get into the bomb shelter. Just in the last 20 minutes since I've been standing out here, there have been 2 explosions up in the north, most likely inside Lebanon, that are caused by the IAF dropping bombs in there. But, you know, it just gives you this kind of surreal sense that here we are in a war zone, and yet they're trying to go about their daily lives. There's kids climbing around in the trees, and they've just learned to live with this, not just over the last 10 months, but over the last more than 10 years. Yeah, and that just tells you what life is like here on the northern border.
As you were going up to the north, you also spent the night in Haifa. Talk about the resilience of the Israeli people under the shadow of a potential in war, but also the potential of a much greater war.
That's right. You know, Yahya Sinwar gave a speech a couple of days ago in which he said that the waiting was part of the punishment for the Israeli people. That they're punishing the Israeli people. They imagine that they're hurting the Israeli people by not attacking right away and making them stay on high alert. Well, what high alert looked like last night, I've got a little bit of video of that, is people walking up and down the waterfront, licking ice cream cones, walking their dogs. There were people doing yoga out there on the beach. This just shows, again, that the Israelis have become inured to the threat. And that's not that they don't take it seriously. It's that they know how to deal with it. They know where to go and what to do if something happens. And until something happens, they're not going to let it ruin their lives.
That's the kind of resilience and kind of attitude I've been experiencing with many of the Israelis I've talked to as well. And I remember the quote from Gold in my ear, and she said, "Our secret weapon is that we have nowhere else to go." This is it. This is sort of their last stand when they face enemies like Iran or Hezbollah. Up next, Aryeh Lightstone from the Abraham Accords Peace Institute on why Israel needs to stop apologizing. Aryeh Lightstone served for 4 years as the senior advisor to the U.S. ambassador to Israel, David Friedman. He's a keen observer of all things Israeli, especially the dynamics between Israel, its friends, and its enemies. And I asked him about this moment in the standoff with Iran. Well, it's a stressful time in Israel here for soldiers, civilians. Is the weight part of Iran's keeping and its proxies keeping people guessing about what might happen?
I don't believe that that's their strategy, even though they'll claim that is their strategy. I don't think Iran is playing 4D chess. I think Iran doesn't know what to do. I think Iran woke up and was shocked that Hania was taken out in the middle of Tehran. I think that they were shocked that Israel was able to hit Damascus, Beirut, Tehran, and Yemen all within a 10-day span without any resistance. Obviously, Israel has not claimed, quote, credit for taking out Hania and Tehran, but this is where reporting tends to take people. And I think that Iran is sitting there wondering what it is to do. Once they make up their mind, I think they will do it. But I believe that Israel, and hopefully Israel's allies, including foremost the United States of America, is watching very carefully.
Yeah. The U.S. is giving aid to Israel and seems to be giving Iran the idea that Americans will get involved in any attack like they did in April. Is there something the U.S. should be doing differently that would benefit Israel's cause?
Yes, people need to stop saying that Israel has a right to defend itself. It's the most dumb comment that's been part of the U.S.-Israel relationship. What country does not have a right to defend itself? By the fact that I have to stand up and say that, that demonstrates that there is somebody with an equally valid argument to stand on the other side of me and say that Israel does not have the right to defend itself. Israel has the moral obligation to defend itself, and this is code word from this administration. We will protect Israel's right to not die based upon ballistic missiles being shot at it, but we will not support Israel's right to remove murderous regimes from their borders. And that's the difference between standing with an ally versus just not wanting to see a lot of Jews dead in the middle of Israel. And one is meaningful and powerful, and the other is frankly weak and pathetic. And that is the leadership that we've seen now since October 7th from the United States of America.
Yeah. Well, this leads on to the next question. You know, some say the Biden administration has coddled Iran, keeping Israel from gaining a strategic victory by constantly pushing negotiations. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think if you look at some of the recent reporting by Adam Credo at the Free Beacon, how many members of the Biden administration are or were active lobbyists for the Islamic Republic of Iran? And those same people are sitting in the room making these policy decisions.
As assistant to Ambassador David Friedman, when you were both here in Israel, you worked with a lot of evangelical Christians. How important is the support of Christians for Israel right now, especially now?
I can't give you on a scale of 1 to 10 because it's a 15. I believe that the prayers are critical. I believe that the calls to Congress are critical. And I believe that the tourism and the missions that have continued to happen since the war are critical. But more than anything else, in a time where Israel hears from the United Kingdom that what they're doing constitutes a war crime, when they see these riots in the streets, not only of Europe, but now on our college campuses of the United States of America, calling the brave soldiers who go in to defend their families war criminals, the power of the evangelicals standing with the Jewish people in the state of Israel is the most important it has ever been. And anybody who's debating that, take it directly from me, that the Bible says, I will bless those who bless you. And this is the message that needs to continue to be imparted to the people of the United States of America.
Aryeh Lightstone, Executive Director of the Abraham Accords Peace Institute, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Chris. God bless.
Still ahead, an unprecedented army of prayer soldiers from around the world interceding as the storm gathers in the Middle East.
The Bible commands believers to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. While Israel fights for its existence on the battlefield, many believers worldwide are taking the fight to the heavenlies.
Several hundred Indonesians recently came to Jerusalem to intercede for the Jewish state and the people here.
What an incredible opportunity to come here and pray on site. And I think that for most of these groups, they don't take it lightly. They're very, very privileged and they know it. And they're going to go home with the goods, if you know what I mean.
Tour guide Hannah Benheim has led many of these groups through the land.
They're praying, of course, for the protection. They're praying for our armed forces. They're praying for our government. But most of all, the bottom line is God's will to be done on earth as it is in heaven. And so they're praying the word of God.
For believers who can't come here to take part, there's an explosion of online opportunities. The International Christian Embassy Jerusalem began prayer right after October 7th.
We went to a daily global prayer gathering, 2 hours every afternoon, Israel time, and we've had, I think, over 20,000 people from about 175 nations involved in that prayer effort, a prayer vigil that's going on for 306 days now. Every day, about 1,000 or more people praying for Israel faithfully with Christian leaders and intercessors from around the world.
David Parsons sees this intensity and breadth of global prayer during Israel's war as an unprecedented effort.
So many Christians around the world, God has given them a heart attachment to this nation, and they're going through this war as if the gun is to their head as well. And I think this connection and this sense we're in a different day, that the enemies of Israel have never faced such a large prayer army as they do now.
We just really feel the Isaiah 62 Watchman on the Wall call for Israel is so important, especially at this time. And I just think it's going to continue to grow in the time ahead.
Patricia Bootsma leads the prayer group for JH Israel. She believes the call of the church is to pray Isaiah 62, verses 6 and 7, which reads, I have set watchmen on your walls, O Jerusalem. They shall never hold their peace day or night. You who make mention of the Lord, do not keep silent, and give him no rest till he establishes and till he makes Jerusalem a praise in the earth.
Well, it's in essence where the Lord is imploring and saying, look, give me no rest until Jerusalem is a praise in the earth. You know, is it a praise in the earth? Not exactly at this moment. It's more like a place of contention. But there will be a time when all of these prophecies will be fulfilled.
That's the mandate of the church today. And that's a very strong mandate. There are no more vacations, no more time out. You know, you can't ignore the mandate that God has put on the church to intercede, stand in the gap, and believe him to make this city a praise in all the earth. You don't have to be physically on the walls of Jerusalem to pray for Jerusalem, because Jerusalem is ground zero of the new kingdom that's coming.
God has an incredible destiny for this city. The devil's trying to stop it. But as I said, there's never, in our generation, the devil's never faced the sort of prayer army that God has raised up. It's a work of the Holy Spirit. None of us can claim credit for it, because there are prayer networks around the world, many who never prayed for Israel before, but are doing it now because they sense there's kingdom destiny at stake in this conflict.
What an important story about the prayer warriors gathering to pray for Israel. Well, that's all for this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Thanks for joining us. Remember to follow us on social media, and you can access CBN content through our CBN News and other CBN apps. And be sure to sign up for our email blasts to get breaking news alerts. And please continue to pray for Israel, for all those caught in harm's way, and for the hostages to return home. I'm Chris Mitchell. We'll see you next time on Jerusalem Dateline.